For 400 years, 80,000 Romans watched events in the Colosseum that history books describe in one paragraph. The reality of what happened inside that building was far more complex, and far stranger, than the movies showed you. As you walk through the ancient arches, you are following in the footsteps of Emperor Vespasian, who laid the foundation stone of the Colosseum in 72 AD, a project that would take 8 years to complete, with a workforce of over 100,000 laborers, and cost an estimated 100 million sestertii. Can you imagine the roar of the crowd as the games began, and the smell of fresh stone and sweat filled the air? In the years leading up to the construction of the Colosseum, Rome was a city of 1 million people, with a growing population and a need for public entertainment, as evidenced by the 3 earlier amphitheaters built in the city, including the Ludus Magnus, which was built in 50 AD. The Roman Empire, under the rule of Emperor Nero, had seen a period of relative peace and prosperity, with trade and commerce flourishing, and a strong economy, with an annual GDP of over 20 billion sestertii. As you consider the context of ancient Rome, you might wonder, what drove the Roman people to demand such grand and expensive entertainment, and how did it reflect their values and priorities? The Roman Republic had a long history of public games and festivals, dating back to 264 BC, with the first recorded gladiatorial contest, and the Colosseum was the culmination of this tradition, with its inaugural games held in 80 AD, featuring 100 days of festivities, including gladiatorial contests, animal hunts, and even a reenactment of a famous sea battle. As the games began, you would have seen gladiators, like the famous Flamma, a secutor who fought in 21 contests and won 21 times, and who was rewarded with his freedom and a substantial sum of money, around 100,000 sestertii. You would have also seen the naumachia, or naval battles, which were staged in the Colosseum, with the arena flooded to a depth of 1.2 meters, and featuring ships and sailors, as well as gladiators and wild animals, like the 19 crocodiles that were used in one famous battle, and the 3,000 wild animals that were slaughtered in another. The animal hunts, known as venations, were a popular feature of the games, with exotic animals like lions, tigers, and bears, being imported from all over the empire, and often driven to extinction, like the Atlas lion, which was last seen in the Colosseum in 100 AD. The Roman emperors, like Titus and Domitian, used the Colosseum to control the population, by providing bread and circuses, and distracting the people from the problems of the empire, like the economic crisis of 92 AD, which saw a significant decline in trade and commerce. As you consider the sheer scale and complexity of the events held in the Colosseum, you might ask, how did the gladiators, who were often slaves or prisoners, manage to form unions and negotiate for better pay and working conditions, and what role did the Roman authorities play in this process? The aftermath of the games saw a significant impact on Roman society, with the Colosseum becoming a symbol of imperial power and prestige, and the emperors using it to promote their own agendas and interests, like the construction of the Arch of Titus, which was built in 82 AD to commemorate the conquest of Jerusalem. The games also had a profound impact on the environment, with the overhunting of wild animals leading to the extinction of several species, and the destruction of habitats, like the forests of the Italian peninsula, which were cleared to make way for the construction of the Colosseum. As you reflect on the legacy of the Colosseum, you might wonder, what lessons can we learn from the Roman experience, and how can we apply them to our own world, where the impact of human activity on the environment is a pressing concern? The Roman authorities, like the Roman Senate, were aware of the environmental impact of the games, and took some steps to mitigate it, like the establishment of the Lex Claudia, which prohibited the slaughter of certain animals, and the creation of the Roman Forestry Service, which was responsible for managing the forests and preventing overhunting. As you stand in the ruins of the Colosseum, you are reminded that the past is always with us, and that the choices we make have consequences that can last for centuries, like the decision to build the Colosseum, which was made over 1,900 years ago, and which continues to shape our understanding of history and culture today. Can you imagine the conversations that took place in the Colosseum, and the stories that were told and retold, as the games became an integral part of Roman life and culture?